Welcome everyone to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio. I'm Tim Grady, and I'm here with the host, founder of Manufacturing Talk Radio, Lou Weiss. And Lou and I today are going to speak with Joel Zielke, who is the business manager for Steamfitters Local 601, talking about apprenticeship programs. And Joel, thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure, guys.
I'm glad you're on with us. My nephew is an electrical apprentice in a union over in Madison.
All right.
I will tell you that if I could get a couple more of my boys in a union trade, I would do it in a heartbeat. They've got, great pay, great benefits. It's a terrific opportunity for them to learn. So, we're excited about what we're going to hear today on apprenticeships in your world.
Right. Well, and your grandfather, probably you heard it from him about, hey, you learn a trade, can't take it away from you. You can go anywhere with it and support yourself. So that's still true today. Yeah.
My father told me that 100 times, and I didn't listen to him.
Well, so Joel, what is Steamfitters doing in relation to manufacturers? And as we all know, manufacturers struggle to hire skilled labor. Wage rates are being pressed upward. They still have over 700,000 open jobs in the U.S. in manufacturing, and they're not getting filled anytime soon. How can you help?
Okay, so we've got an apprenticeship program that really started, for us in the Wisconsin area, in the late 30s and 40s, got rolling along. And it's kind of modeled after the German system, over in Europe, where this is a employer contracting with an employee to train them at a trade, in our case, steamfitters, learning how piping systems go in and how to do the heating, the cooling. I always like to throw in that, sometimes people go, well, steam fitter, what is that? And so we're the guys related to we're a piping trade related to plumbing and sprinkler fitting. Plumbers are the guys that do the sinks and toilets and roof drains and things like that, and sprinkler fitters do the fire protection. So we do just about everything else, from putting in heating and air conditioning in your house, furnace and systems that you have in a residential building, all the way up to power plants and refineries. So quite a diverse set of skills that a person has to have, and of course the guys specialize in it through the apprenticeship. We have two apprenticeships at Steamfitter 601. One is the construction guys that install the systems, and then there's a separate apprenticeship for the guys that troubleshoot and fix the equipment once it's been installed. So we do reach out. I know that manufacturing and the construction trades attract a similar type of person. It's people that like to see something built, that are good with their hands, maybe aren't the person that wants to be the doctor or lawyer, but really shines at doing things, figuring in your head how it should look, how it should be. And so that's kind of the same with manufacturing. So you get similar pool of people. So we reach out quite a bit with some of the other trades at high schools, and nowadays we're even starting down at the grade school level to reach out to the instructors primarily and the guidance counselors and say, hey, look, this is an option besides going to college. So we run an orientation every month and bring in people who are interested in learning about what is a steam fitter, what do you do, and we show them how to apply, what the process is. And some of them probably, if we get a typical month, we have 60, 70 people coming in to check us out, and maybe half of those fill out the applications, maybe another half of those follow through with the testing and the requirements, and we come up with a candidate list, people that are qualified to serve as apprentices, and then the employers kind of pick through. They look at the resumes of those candidates and pick the people that they feel would do best to serve their particular company. So it's kind of a good system. We work with the employer, just hand in hand. It is a joint effort. So we like that system because we have no lack of applicants. It's working for us.
I couldn't help but notice that earlier in the beginning of your statement, you mentioned about the guys. So my question is, does that mean there aren't a lot of gals who are in Steamfitters?
So I would tell you, Lou, that unfortunately you are correct. Not that they couldn't be or that they shouldn't be, but our makeup is, gosh, I'll bet if we've got 2,700 members, and if 3 to 4% of them are female, that would be a lot. Now this is improving. It's good through this outreach that we do with the high schools, but by no means are we where we should be, because gosh, you look at it, so females are half of the population, and we're kind of missing out on good opportunities to hire females.
What is a tip after you get through an apprentice program? What's a typical compensation for a person who's coming out of apprenticeship and starting to work?
Sure. So they become after 5 years, they take a test and become a journey person, and their wages right now, take home on the check, $50 an hour, plus a pension, plus a health fund, plus an additional 401k. And that's, when I say the $50, that is truly what goes on the person's check. When I mentioned the health fund and pension, that's on top of that. So total package for a Steamfitter, a journeyman right now, is just shy of $80. So that's a negotiated package. Yeah.
I should have listened to my father.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, it's never too late, Lou. Come on.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be too late for a lot of things.
So,
I hear you.
Joel, in those apprenticeship years, they're still seeing a pretty good number in their check, are they not?
Correct. Yeah, they start. We have a what's called a pre-apprenticeship, and that can be anywhere from 1 day to 1 year. So a pre-apprentice starts at about $18 an hour, but also gets the health insurance right away and the 401k. And it's based on it's kind of a sliding scale for apprentices. They'll start at 35%, work up to 40 to 50 to 65, and so forth as they go through the 5-year program. And then make their way all the way up to the 100% journeyman pay. And as an apprentice, the first 2 years you don't have quite as lucrative of a health fund, but it still is. It's all the major medical prescriptions and all that. But I guess for those guys, I always mention to them that we do have our own health clinics along with the plumbers here. We've opened up our own health clinics, so those apprentices are welcome to use those free of charge to themselves or their families. So it's a nice benefit.
Joel, how many people could you hire today if you had people who were ready to be hired?
Well, I'll tell you what. So we've got a couple of projects going on right now, and we are probably short. We were just counting up the other day. By the end of April, we will be short close to 200 people. So what we did in the past, Lou and Tim, we would call surrounding locals. We would call down to Chicago or up to the Twin Cities and say, hey, do you have some guys that would want to come and work here at 601? And usually that would happen. We could man work, when we had a shortage. Now it's this way pretty much all over the upper Midwest. There aren't extra people around because so many of the states and cities have huge projects. The economy is it's still booming. So we're going to have to try and fill those slots somehow, some way on our own through apprenticeship. and probably reaching out to guys that do work as in the piping industry right now, maybe for non-signatory, non-union companies, if you will. And we'll work with those guys and bring them in to do the work.
In your efforts to get trainees and apprenticeships, do you reach out at all to parents of teenagers and point out to them the value of being a working guy who can make good money? Because parents are still into this, even though they walk away with $200,000 or $300,000 in debt going to college. They need to be influenced also, that if the individual, the kid, is looking to do something and he's really not college material, but parent wants him to go to college and he doesn't want to go, and then he goes and 40% of them flunk out, and then what do?
All of that. No, so we've gotten better at it. As time has gone by, you're 100% right about the parents being involved, because oftentimes you go to these career fairs and it would be just guidance counselor or the shop teacher there. And we've had way better luck when the parents, when they do them at night, when the parents can come along and see some of the different trades and opportunities that are out there. There was one out in Madison that was done where had the cutout of a guy with a hard hat on, and your face could go in there, and the cartoon character was holding a paycheck that actually was indicative of what a journeyman would take home at that time. And a lot of the kids, hey, this is great, I'll get my picture taken in there, go home, show their parents. We actually got phone calls from probably half a dozen parents saying, is this for real? Where do I sign up for this? How can I get involved in this? So that works, and we're getting better at it. But it's the old thing. When the shop classes disappeared, years ago, and everybody was supposed to go to college. I know manufacturing took that hit too. Everyone was supposed to be something from college and have to have this degree. And as you mentioned, that debt, just incredible to watch that now. I was on the internet the other day, and there was a story about at some point we're coming to where a college education is going to be $1 million, and yet the cost of your TV is going to be down. A huge flat screen that can cover your wall will be down in $200 and $300. It's so weird how things are going. It's these trades. I'll tell you what. Again, the stability that it brings to the middle class and to a family are just something that really needs to be highlighted even more than it is right now. And you think about the again, easily $100,000 for a college education. You come through an apprenticeship with building trades, whether it's us as the Steamfitters or practically any other ones out there. You maybe have some tuition for night school, or perhaps if you go into day school, but it's to the tune of perhaps $2,500 a year. So maybe in an apprenticeship you've spent $10,000, but remember you're earning a paycheck as you're going through these 5 years. So you really are able to cover that. It's not like the apprentice has to go to mom and dad and say, hey, can you give me some money for some books? They're earning money too. So it's a good deal.
Do many people complain about the 5-year number?
That's a great question, because yes, a lot of young people, there's more of the, I don't want to say it's instant gratification, but they're going like, well, you make that kind of money, and how long? 5 years. It takes 5 years to get it. Oh, no way. So that that does turn off a certain segment of the people that come in and check out the apprenticeship. They just go, that's fantastic money, but I'm not waiting 5 years for that. I want that right now. It's not how life works. We all know that you get that reward at the end of the journey, kind of a thing. It takes a while. So yes, you are right, Lou. That is something we hear all too often.
5 years is a long time.
It is, but gosh, I'll tell you what, now I went through my apprenticeship, back in the day, similar to you, Lou, and I thought when I started, oh my God, I'm never gonna learn this, I'm never gonna get through this, and oh my God, 5 years. And before you knew it, it was over and you still hadn't learned everything, and it does go fast. These guys are all surprised at the end that, boy, I gotta get ready to take my journeyman test now.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it goes fast to a 20-year-old.
Oh, exactly, right. Well, right, when you think about it, the perspective of, like me being in my 60s now, and you go, well, what's 5 years? Yeah, when I was 20, well, that was a quarter of my life, my God.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Exactly.
Joel, Lou and I have talked about this. We've talked to other guests about it, and the three of us are, shall we say, over 60. But I've been having conversations with my younger children about, they're in their 20s, asking if they can find people who have the work ethic that we had when we were in our 20s or 30s. We were willing to put in 40, 45, 50 hours a week, nose to the grindstone. And their answer is no. You can't find them. They don't want to work. They don't show up for interview. They set an interview time. They don't show up. You hire them. They don't want to work. They'll put in 5 hours. They want 5 weeks off. It's crazy. You're experiencing the same thing, trying to glean people for 601?
Well, I would tell you, I think my perception is that we are way more fortunate in perhaps it's the screening that we do first and telling people right away, right up front, here's the expectations of you. We tell you that, look, we don't need average people. Your pay is it's very good pay. Your benefits are fantastic. That needs to be, you've got to reflect that. You have to give it everything too. We do get the occasional apprentice that, yeah, oh, you want me to work at 7 o'clock every day? But usually that person kind of self-eliminates after a while, because it is, boy, when you're out on a job site, you're part of a team, and the rest of the guys will go, hey, where were you yesterday? Or how come you were a half hour late today? And before too long, the apprentice gets pulled in front of the committee, and that's a apprenticeship committee made up of labor and management. And we talk to the kids and go, look, that's not acceptable. You're going to have to change your behavior, or you're going to be released from the program. And so they get it for the most part. Not that we don't have a few that it's an issue. We're lucky, and I think, again, being in my 60s, you go, these kids nowadays and all that, and I don't want to do that, because boy, there's so many of them are fantastic, and they do have the skills and the capability of doing it. Sometimes it needs a little more coaxing than perhaps I did when I was that age, but it's there. It's still there.
Yeah, those are always interesting challenges. I probably didn't really settle down into my work life until I was in my later 20s. I went to college. Really couldn't find what I wanted to do in college. I didn't figure a degree in underwater basket weaving was going to carry me very far. So, I had to bail out of college and find some real work. And I don't miss it. But the thing I do miss is shop classes when they took those out of high schools for my own kids. I wanted my children to experience wood shop and home ec and what they used to just call shop when they worked on a car engine. My sons would have benefited from that greatly. Big mistake pulling those out.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more, because you think about it, whether you do take a job in the trades or maybe you do end up being a doctor, but for God's sake, you should be able to figure out how to change a light switch. And so many people nowadays, that's just a huge mystery. Like what goes on, or how would you even, if you had a leak in your toilet, how would you turn off that water? And there's so many people that a simple thing like that, it's beyond their comprehension. because they never saw anything like this from shop classes that, yeah, we used to go through in grade school and high school. So, but bringing that back, we have a few school systems around that have gotten that message and have said, yeah, we need to do something about this. And so there are some out there doing it. Not enough though, and I get it. It's a shame that the funding for schools, the first thing that gets cut is, of course, music, shop, all that kind of stuff that's not math and English and the basic core things. But man, is that important for life? I agree. It needs to come back big time.
Is there a way to turn the water off in your house?
Oh gosh. Okay, boy. Yeah, Lou, great question. That's one of those. We talked the other day about the thermostat that makes your air conditioning and your heat work during the winter, and how the other night my thermostat, well, it was the batteries had gone low and my furnace wasn't working, and I just go, well, thank God they're able to figure that one out, and then my wife says the same thing, and yet. Had I not been able to do that, so then you call a repairman and he goes, well, I can get there in 2 days. And then in the meantime,
Yeah.
because of your battery's not working, you sitting in a cold house and your wife is unhappy, the dogs are mad, all of that, so it's yeah, these shop class.
All kidding aside, I didn't know thermostats have a battery.
Many of them do, some don't, some don't. Some of those better ones, they're powered off the furnace itself, but many of them have batteries. And
Wow.
So next time, you check that first.
I'll check it. I got to find it first.
Yeah. Joel, as we kind of approach the end of this segment, I would like you to tell people how to get in touch with 601 so they can begin the conversation.
So, right, we've got a website that's probably the easiest way. And I'll mention that the website is currently being revamped. We've got the old one up, so it's 7 years and dated. So it's not real fancy, but they tell us within a month we'll have a new one. But the website, it's www.steam601.org. And that'll get you to anything about our career, from the apprenticeship to kind of what we do. And, for people that maybe are outstate or in different parts of the country, there's links there that can get you in touch with the various trade organizations in your area. So while you might not be from Milwaukee or Madison, we've got links that'll take you to the Green Bay local and get you hooked up with those people. So good source there. That's probably the best way.
Someone just slipped me a note. They want to know what 601 means.
Oh, okay. Good question. So that's labor unions tend to get a number, from our parent organization is called the United Association. So the United Association assigns numbers to each local, and years ago, there used to be locals in virtually every city and town, that there was, and, they've consolidated quite a bit, but our number was assigned back in 1913 as 601. And so we are, refer to ourselves as Steamfitters 601. And, the little spark, off the 601 is supposed to be symbolic of, the welding that we do. So that's a big part of our trade.
You don't have much of a spark, though, when it comes to underwater welding.
I agreed. Agreed. That's a tough one. Yeah.
But you make a lot more money under the water.
Boy, those guys, I tell you what, I don't think you could pay me enough to do that. Be in the dark and, think of all the things that might be just right outside your field of vision. Oh boy. They're worth it.
We certainly appreciate you being with us, Joel. Important message for those in their late teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. There's a lot of opportunity working for a union operation, and we encourage people to take a serious look at what's happening, not just in 601, but in the trades. Joel, thanks for being with us.
Thank you guys for having me anytime.
Just keep in mind, audience, 5 years isn't really all that long.
No.
You get to be our age, you wonder where the first 60 went.
We're 70.
Amen.
Okay, thank you very much, Joel.
All right, Lou.
Just a word to our listeners, tune in every week. We have at least one show, sometimes 2 and 3. That's because the pay is so good here. And we are also syndicating for AM and FM radio nationwide. We are actually on WLEA upstate New York, and little 8,500 population town, and we get 15,000 listeners every time we have a show. So it must be a lot of out-of-towners driving through during rush hour. So that said, we'll see you next time. Tim, good seeing you as always. Joel, thank you very much.